Women in our state will soon be able to get birth control over the counter at pharmacies without a prescription. This is under a 2016 state law, and pharmacies are expecting to have the services available in April. So all you'd have to do is complete a questionnaire, get your blood pressure checked, and consult with a pharmacist before getting birth control. Now, supporters of President Trump making their voices heard during a rally at the state capitol last week. About 200 people held signs and waved flags to tell the president they are behind him. That very same day, same time, gay rights advocates were out at the Capitol lobbying for two new state laws. One would make it easier for transgender people to update their birth certificates, and the other would ban conversion therapy for minors in Colorado. And those are just two of the biggest Colorado issues that the lobby group One Colorado is behind this year. And Nicole Brady sat down with the group's executive director to learn what national movements they're monitoring for potential Colorado impact.
Joining me now is Daniel Ramos, the executive director of One Colorado. You guys had a lobby day at the state capitol this past week. In this legislative session, you're pushing for quite an agenda. Tell us about some of the bills that the group is pushing for right now.
Sure, yeah. So earlier last week, we had our largest lobby day in One Colorado's history. We had nearly 400 people down at the legislature from really every corner of our state lobbying about issues that impact LGBTQ Coloradans and our families. And so two of the bills that we're running this year specifically, one is a bill that would ban conversion therapy in Colorado. And so what it would do is it would prohibit state licensed mental health professionals from practicing conversion therapy or any effort aimed at changing a young person's sexual orientation or their gender identity. That bill passed earlier this week out of a House committee and now goes to the full House floor in the next couple of weeks. The other bill that we're working on is a bill that would make it easier for transgender people to update the gender on their birth certificate. So that bill will be in committee next week. And what that bill would do is it would, again, make it easier for transgender folks to have an identity document that matches who they are. Because currently in Colorado, if you're transgender, you have to go and get a surgery, and then after you get a surgery, you have to go before a judge and prove to a judge that you had a surgery. And so it's an incredibly invasive process, and one that requires many unnecessary steps for an individual to have an identity document that matches who they are.
So this would make that easier. Do the conversion therapy and that, do they have precedents in other states? Has that happened yet?
Yes, so currently there are 5 states in the District of Columbia that have bans on conversion therapy. So it is still legal in 45 states for a mental health therapist to practice conversion therapy. Again, that could be something, where you and I are sitting and having a conversation, and I use efforts around shame or rejection, and it could be some more extreme efforts really aimed at changing a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. There are also already places where transgender folks can get an identity document that matches who they are. Currently, the U.S. passport process and also the Social Security process allows an individual and their medical or mental health provider to work directly with the government agency so that they can get an identity document that matches who they are. And our Colorado bill would do the same. Again, it would have the Department of Public Health and Environment work directly with the individual and their medical or mental health provider to make sure that they have the appropriate identity documents.
Groups like One Colorado have made progress in so many of these areas in recent years, but then we have this administration change. President Trump recently rolling back those protections for transgender people when it comes to the bathrooms that they use and using the bathroom that matches their gender. So where do we go from there with the new federal laws, and how will that relate to what's happening in Colorado?
We did see just last week that Trump's administration did roll back protections or withdrew the guidance regarding transgender students in American schools. And so what that means is that now, for transgender folks all over the country and all over the state, they're wondering what to do. And I think that it's important to note that here in Colorado, we do have protections already. Back in 2008, the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Bill was passed, which allows individuals to use a bathroom that corresponds with their gender identity. And earlier this year and back in 2012, we worked collaboratively with many of the statewide education associations, including the Colorado Education Association, the Colorado Association of School Boards, the Colorado Association of School Executives, the Colorado Charter School League, and also the Colorado High School Activities and Athletics Association, who have all come together to agree that transgender students and gender nonconforming students have the right to use a bathroom that corresponds with their gender identity, and they also have a right to participate in activities and athletics that correspond with their gender identity. So it is currently the law in Colorado, and it will continue to be the law. But unfortunately, in this move from the Trump administration, what we've seen is him really turn his back on a community that he promised to protect during the campaign, saying that LGBTQ people were not under threat under his administration, and by his administration withdrawing their protections for transgender students in U.S. schools, he has sent a message to the transgender community, and especially to transgender young people, that in fact they don't matter under his administration.
A lot of what he may be responding to, and some of the people that no doubt voted for him, wanted some more religious exemptions to the law, and there is this effort to create this First Amendment Defense Act at a federal level that, if passed, would apply to Colorado if we get to that point. What is your thoughts on this amendment and protections, I guess, for those groups, religious groups perhaps, or people who want to have their own opinions and values protected?
Yes, over the last couple of years, we've seen these bills called religious exemption bills that essentially allow any individual or business to pick and choose which law to follow based on their religious beliefs. So we've had these bills introduced in Colorado's legislature, and we've in fact killed them the last three years. But what we've seen happen at the federal level is that members of Congress have already started to move what's called the First Amendment Defense Act forward. And Trump has said that he would sign this bill into law. And what that would do is it would allow, again, any individual, any business, any government official, or any government agency to deny services and really to pick and choose which laws to follow based on their religious beliefs.
But it would be the law here in Colorado if passed, so that is a concern, I take it.
Yes, federally, if it were passed, it would allow every state and anyone in any state to pick and choose which law to follow, and it would really eviscerate our non-discrimination laws, the laws that we do have here in Colorado that, again, were passed in 2008.
Yeah, Colorado ahead of even President Obama's rulings on some of those. So, Colorado and the federal government may be at odds with some of this, but we'll keep following it. Thank you, Daniel Ramos from One Colorado, for joining us.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Back to you, Ann.
All right. Great conversation, and we'll be right back.